Hey, we should be live. We're back after a brief hiatus. We're, we're working on Green Goblin again. Not Norman. Don't really care about him. There will be times where you will have to cast Norman and then try and flip into Green Goblin on the next turn and win because he's died so many times. But yeah, we're working on Green Goblin. I took a bit of a break, not intentionally. I was watching the one guy I like to watch on Twitch, Octo, play Silk Song, and he had just gotten to the end game content in Act 3 and some of the best boss fights. So between that and then midweek, so I didn't do midweek magic that night, so I did it during the day instead. And then yesterday I was super busy in the morning, and by the time I was ready to sit down and stream, I was just like, I just want to jump into playing magic right now. Turned out not to be the best idea because I got absolutely wrecked, but it did not do super well. So we're back. We're working on Norman. I have been thinking about the things that I was talking about before with the discard a card, draw cards, make treasure cards versus the draw more cards, then discard a bunch of them at random cards that we have on the list. And I think I am slightly more inclined to keep it as is for right now, but if I hadn't cut Windfall, which I believe I did, let's see if I cut Unexpected Windfall. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Alright, so I did cut Unexpected Windfall. If I had not cut that one and it made it through, I think I would replace that one with Goblin Lore at that point, because Goblin Lore's the cheaper of the two, and you're more likely to have that one. And I don't want to suggest the Court's Intrigue for people that don't realize there's a cheaper version, even if I wanted to play with the fancier one. So, so yeah, I think it stays this way only because the additional mana when we're trying to go off, when it starts off where the mana's tight before we get to the point where we might have access to a lot of mana, I think the spell being functionally free while we're doing it is better than the extra cards most of the time. Obviously, there will be times where the cards that we draw aren't good enough, and the cards that we needed were a few more cards down. And if we had drawn more cards, instead of discarding one and drawing two, we had drawn three, or I'm sorry, drawn four and discarded three at random, would have been better for us overall. We would have gotten to the next spell that we could use to chain. But we also might not have had the discard outlet at the time. But then again, if we didn't have the discard outlet at the time, getting the rebate on the spell probably wasn't good enough either. So it's kind of a 6 of one, half dozen of the other, where sometimes the mana is going to be more important and sometimes the cards are going to be more important. And we won't know until we're in that situation which one of them was actually correct. So if we build the deck and we run Norman and he's struggling, where he has the mana more often, but doesn't always have the cards, and we can always go back and replace um, Windfall, or not Windfall, the Pillage and Big Score with Goblin Lore and Control of the Courts. But that's where I've decided to land at for the purposes of this particular build, and we'll figure it out. Alright, remind me what we have on the list still, so that way I can be sad when I have to get rid of it. Mana Tutor, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Mana Drain, Belwar Stone, Force of Will, Helm of Awakening. If I can get... The problem is, we have, 95 cards left? No, way more than 95. We have 124. Jesus. God. I have to get rid of over half the cards still on the list. Why did I think I was down to, in the 90s? So even if I got rid of all of the, the Fervor and the Token Makers, the Haste Granters, and all of that aren't already desperately needing the deck, get rid of, the empty the warrens and whatnot, then I have to add in like 2 other cards that can kill all of our opponents when we're going off. And that means I've only cut like 5 cards from the list at the end of the day. And I'm still going to be running cards that are making tons of tokens because they are also the better discard outlet. Like, Zombie Infestation is one of the best discard outlets. It's 2 mana, and the discard is free. And it's an enchantment, so it's much more difficult to interact with than an Olivia's Dragoons or, the Imp, whatever the Imp's name is from Torment. I'm blanking on it so hard right now, even though it used to be like Dredge's Putrid Imp. I was gonna say, it used to be one of Dredge's like absolute best cards because it was a 1 mana discard outlet. I am still inclined to keep Helm of Awakening because the turn that I go off, this will shave a mana off of a bunch of spells. So, and I can wait until the turn we're gonna go off in order to cast it. So I think it's deserving of its spot still, despite the fact that it can be very dangerous. It can enable opponents to be able to cast spells they couldn't, or be more mana efficient. Attunement, Gamble, Scourge Familiar, Frantic Search. I do kind of appreciate that Attunement can just be in play until I can get Green Goblin down, and then we can start using it. And once we start using it, it's only a blue mana to recast. But even if I didn't have a good discard outlet, I could still run Green Goblin out with this thing in play and some extra mana and be like, no, I'm gonna get there. It'll be fine. Panic Search, Grim Monolith, Phyrexian Altar. I would lose the Phyrexian Altar at that point if I'm not going to do the hasty creature thing. But we don't have, the problem is we don't have an infinite loop. We just have, we might be able to go arbitrarily large where we just keep hitting and just keep chaining, but there's nothing actually infinite in the deck. So we can't just, well, we'll hit these cards eventually and then we win the game. It's like, no, we actually have to win the game. Which I kind of like. I appreciate that it's not just an infinite combo we're trying to chain together. It's, I don't even know if we're going to win this turn type of thing. We're going to start storming and we'll see if it's enough. And I kind of like that about it. Because it's a little bit more, it has a little more wiggle room for like cool moments and whatnot. It's not just like, oh no, we got the 3 cards, we win the game. Yeah, we're gonna loop these 2 and then we're gonna cast the storm card and then you're gonna die. Like, I've built decks like that before, and I do think they have a place in the higher tiers of Commander, but I like Norman's more where he's just like, I'm gonna try it and see what happens. I'm just gonna start throwing pumpkin-shaped bombs at people, and we're gonna see if the ones I want to die. Feels very, very Green Goblin of him to just start doing maniacal things and see if it works out. That's true. We also still have Breakthrough on the list, which is better than Control of the Courts and Goblin Lore. Putrid Imp, Anger, Tendrils. Maybe we're at the point where Fabricate can go. A lot of my artifacts are very interchangeable. Like, there are a bunch of mana rocks and a bunch of card draw ones. And there's very few artifacts that are the, okay, this is what's going to actually win me the game. I think we might have even ditched Panharmonicon at this point. So with Fabricate still on the list, in case we do go to it, yeah. Bring me back to where I was? No. Alright, so Fabricate. So yeah, with Panharmonicon gone, Fabricate might be able to go. The most important things it can grab, like I'm looking at Car Clan Ironworks down there, and I'm trying to think what else it can go get. That would be the most important. Like we'd have to be in a position where we don't have like a talisman, or we're getting low on life and need Arcane Signet, or we actually have a position where we could cast Bolus's Citadel for Fabricate to be good at this point. Like a lot of the artifacts on the list are very redundant, and that's intentional. So Grave Robber, Divining Top, Watery Grave, Infernal Tutor, too good. Orange. Got Prismatic Lens. Want to Fairy. Probably need Damnation. Active Negation. Elsewhere Flask. Prism. Mox Opal. Riddlesmith. Wellspring. Burning Vengeance. Faithless Looting. Increasing Ambition. Is the problem the other way then? Like, if I'm going to win with hasty creatures, should that be more of a focal point? Like, should cards like Burning Vengeance leave then? Should I not be splitting up my win cons? It's 2 damage to any target, so it's very easy for it to kill problematic things also, while still being able to excuse me, still being able to kill opponents if we need it to. Yeah, I'm looking at like Burning Vengeance, and I'm thinking of the Cellar Spawn, and they're like, these are things that will deal 2 damage when I cast my spells from the graveyard most of the time. In fact, the Burning Vengeance is always 2 damage, so if I discard like Mox Opal and cast it for free, it would still deal 2 damage, whereas the Cellar Spawn would be like, no, it costs 0 and you paid 0, you deal nothing. And we already got rid of the 6-drop one. Um, so if Burning Vengeance is not great, then Cellar Spawn is worse. And if we're going to cut one of them, it should be Cellar Spawn. So I think we'll wait on that one. Faithless Looting, Increasing Ambition. I love Increasing Ambition. It's still going to be 3 mana to tutor 2 cards, and that might be too much. It amuses me so much. If this were Value Norman, we would definitely run it. I think Value Norman might be the better spot for Increasing Ambition. We still have Original D-Toots, Infernal Tutor, on a console, and Solve the Equation as our tutors. Yeah, okay, I can talk myself into losing Increasing Ambition. I am sad about that. I was very amused when I found that card. But we've already cut Volrath's dungeon, and if we're gonna cut that one, then we're cutting all of the fun cards for the best version of the deck right now. Physical outcome. If near conundrum, even if it's not super on topic. Just being able to disrupt the opponent's game plan a little bit is helpful. Maybe for the same reason I'm cutting increasing ambition, fervent mastery has to go. Like, it's 3 gambles in a trench coat, but it's also, the cost of 3 gambles. Maybe 2 if I don't mind somebody discarding some cards, and drawing some extras to replace them. But that's like the only thing. Uh, yeah, 3 mana is a lot when we're trying to go off, and we need the colored mana to cast some of the spells that will let us actually finish the game once all of our artifact things are rolling. We don't have something like Displacer Kitten or Phyrexian Altar giving us a bunch of colored mana, then we might wind up in a position where we can't go off because we cast the spells. It should be easier to get things though. Like the upside to fervent mastery is that if we're empty-handed, we just get to go tutor the artifact mana also. Like if we went and got the card that we needed to win the game, but we couldn't cast it because we didn't have the colored mana for it, we could also just go get like the talisman and an arcane signet. Like 2 of the talismans, any 2 talismans should be able to give us, double black, double blue, or double red. So it should not be that hard to actually assemble the card we need plus the mana that we need to cast it. So we should be able to get double black for tendrils or a red for empty the warrens or something. So we should still be good on that front. Is Prismari Command just not good enough at any one given thing that it's doing? I have some other minor artifact destruction spells if I need a targeted artifact removal spell, and I have better draw and discard with treasure making, and I have better random 2 damage effects to things. So I have better versions of all of Prismari Command's things, and I need cuts, so maybe Prismari Command just goes. It's doing a lot of things okay, and none of them great. Which is true of most commands, or they're very expensive, like Cryptic. And usually you're still getting like 2 cards worth of value out of them, so most of them are still very playable because of that. Vecna, Fire, Malevolent Hermit, Ominous Roost. I'm thinking about Ominous Roost as far as win cons go. Like, even without cutting all the things that give haste, like, Geralf makes giant zombies, and Infestation makes them for doing the thing that we want to do anyway. So, both of them seem better. They are both creatures, though, and Ominous Roost is a little less good. Or, I'm sorry, a little less vulnerable. It's less good is the problem, but it's less vulnerable as an enchantment. It's just that tiny bit harder to kill with Black's targeted enchantment removal being so much weaker than the other two colors. Like artifact destruction, you've got like red primary, green secondary, white tertiary, and they all have a lot of really strong options for artifact removal, and then you throw in blues like bounce and artifact stealing for good measure. Whereas enchantments, you have like I think green is primary in enchantment destruction, thanks to things like tranquility and whatnot. It just got more enchantment removal over the years, and then white secondary, getting the well, if red's going to destroy the artifact, I'm going to destroy the enchantment side of every cycle of things like that. And then but then black is tertiary and blue has, either the steal anything cards, which we're gonna get it anyway, or like one or two steal enchantments where they actually have a lot more steal artifacts randomly. Things like Merfolk Skydiver and there's like there's a thief where it's like inspired become like steals an artifact or something, or something along those. Like blue just has random artifact theft cards more often than it has random enchantment theft cards, like specifically for enchantments. So because blue has a lot of things that care about artifacts, and blue has a lot of things that care about stealing things. So just there's more artifact interaction in Magic, I feel like, across the five colors than there is enchantment interaction. So Ominous Roost gets a buff from that. But it is the worst one. The 1/1s can't block, but they're harder to block. Whereas the zombies are easier to block, but with Geralf they'll be much larger. Alright, let me see my other win cons. I'm starting to think that one or two of the win cons are going to go anyway. We love Change of Fortune. Offer you can't refuse. Big score. In refractor. A spread. One ring. I keep coming to the one ring and thinking, I'm going to wind up cutting this because it's too expensive on the turn that you're going off for what it's doing, so it has to be a setup turn. Like, it literally has to be a setup turn for the One Ring. You're not going to... You can cast the One Ring in the middle of your combo turn and spend 2 mana to draw a card, but with no ways to untap. Like, it goes off absolutely if we can get Mind Over Matter in play. If Mind Over Matter is in play, the One Ring wins the game. Because it literally becomes tap, draw a card, tap, draw 2 cards, tap, draw 3 cards. Like, you just get to keep discarding a card and untapping it and drawing more and more cards until you literally cannot draw that. I was doing the math and it was like somewhere around like 14 or 13, you stop being able to draw cards. Like, you have to leave those cards left in the deck, but that's only with Mind Over Matter. And I think that's what got me to keep it on the list, was the idea that if you get Mind Over Matter and the One Ring into play, you actually just win the game. All right, let's ditch the One Ring, I think. I already got rid of Fabricate, so it's a little bit harder to tutor the One Ring anyway. That's true. File of Galadriel, as far as like Fabricate targets, File of Galadriel is really high on the list, because if we can get a discard outlet in play, then all of our draws become draw twos, and that's really strong. That's kind of the thing I'm most looking for in the deck. Ral gets to stay because if he hits hits ultimate on the turn that we play him, and he very easily could. If we're already going, if we are in danger of winning with Storm, we will actually win with Storm if Ral is in play. So Matrix, Magnican Artillerist, Instant Ramen, BV so good. He's a good boy. He deserves to be in the deck. Quantum Riddler. The fact that the Weft Stalker works for artifacts and creatures, which is a thing I keep forgetting when I have him in Captain Sammy, where I'll cast a creature and deal a damage with Weft Stalker. I'm like, wait, is that an artifact creature somehow, or do colorless? I cast like Emrakul, and it's like, and it dealt them a point of damage. I'm like, is it colorless spells? I thought it was artifact spells. It's like, no, it's artifacts and creatures. Oh. You want to keep the Weft Stalker because we're good. The goal is to cast all of the cantripping artifacts and the mana rocks from the graveyard to go off. But we make a ton of creatures from that, so he gets to double up on what triggers him. And even if we can't discard him, we can cast him from our hand for a single red mana. Potentially, so. Just a little too strong. Shadow the Goblin, worth it more for the 1 damage. Like, we're not. If we had Value Norman, we would also be running Shadow of the Goblin for completely different reasons. Where it's like, oh no, it's a free discard outlet, free discard and draw outlet every single turn, and then we get to deal the damage if we start playing cards. It's Vile. Various Ageless Insight, Talisman of Creativity, Urza, Fleshraker, Psychic Frog, Placer Kitten. Maybe I don't need Damnation and Toxic Deluge. Maybe I don't need Cyclonic Rift and O-Stone. Miser, Ignite the Future. Every time I see Ignite the Future, there's a part of me that immediately goes, it's not casting from graveyard, I don't want it. It's not putting the cards where I can discard them, I don't want it. But the cards will be free. So if I hit spells off of it, they are free. I just get to cast them, and I get to cast them from somewhere other than my hand. So while Burning Vengeance might not trigger because I'm not casting them from the graveyard, most of my other stuff will. And that's good enough for me. Red and 1, get access to my top 3 cards, and if they're spells, cast them for free is just a little too strong. Plus, I'll have cast the Ignite the Future from the graveyard in that scenario, so. Yeah, the biggest reason to cut it is it's terrible if I can't discard it. So. But if I can't discard it, then my deck currently isn't functioning properly. I don't think that actually matters. Honestly, 2 red and 3, Crackling Spellslinger might go just because tacking on 3 extra mana. If I, like, we're assuming I can discard because if I'm storming off, I have discard outlets and I've been casting a ton of spells. So if I'm actually going to storm off with him, yeah, Ral is just doing the same thing but better. And slightly cheaper too at a red and a blue if I can discard him versus 2 red and 1. So yeah, I think we get rid of him. I'm half an hour in and I've cut 1, 2, 3, 4 cards so far. Oh my god. Norman is just so hard to build. Just because he does so many things and there are so many, like, all of his cards, like, there's nothing unique left on the list. There's no one card that is like, I am so entirely special at what I'm doing in this deck that there are no other cards in this deck that are even close to me. It's like, no, most of the cards on the list are doing, like, one of 4 things. So, it's just figuring out which ones I don't need anymore. If I can only run so many of them. Alright, some of these are on the sub list, so... There's the Spellslinger. Don't know that the One Ring... No. Ring is not anywhere else. Prismari might be under the... Damn it, Prismari! Being almost exactly prismatic. Okay. No increasing. And fabricate. Oops. Nope. Okay. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got 5 cards. Yay! Half the cards on the list can stay now. The other half have to go. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's so ridiculous. Alright, but seriously, I don't think I have a sublist for my removal. So, I think I need to actually make one of those. My interaction and removal. See what I actually have to work with. If I can cut some of the worst ones. Alright, there's no actual counter spells, so yeah, I think it does just start with mana drain. Alright, give me my interaction so I can look at all of that and see what needs to go off the list. Anything, right? Nope. Okay. Frantic Search, Grim Monolith, Phyrexian Altar, Diabolic Intent, Zombie Infestation, Breakthrough, Putrid Imp, Anger. O-Stone, yes. Really, none of these were any kind of interaction. Suppose I don't have that much interaction actually on the list because I need so much room for my various combo pieces, but... Eternal Tutor... Grape Shot's not really removal. Like, I'm trying to win the game with it. So... I feel it's disingenuous to put it on the removal list as I'm going to cast like 3 spells and then Grape Shot down some 1 toughness creatures or something in order to win the game. Very Damnation's interaction. Oh, Pact of Negation. Elsewhere Flask. Prophetic Prism. Oxopole. Smith, no. Earning Vengeance can be interaction. It can certainly kill creatures and planeswalkers that are giving me problems. even if I can't go off that turn. You know, trying to discard and the problem is like, am I casting spells from anywhere other, or am I casting spells from my graveyard if Norman's not in play? And if Norman's not in play, am I not trying to just win the game that turn? Yeah, maybe Burning Vengeance is disingenuous as removal because of that. Like, it's removal on the turn that I'm going off, which is probably true of Firestorm and Nahiri's Vengeance when we get to it also. Like, I'm not just going to discard my whole hand without Green Goblin in play to kill a bunch of things. So it's more that I can discard my whole hand to kill all of your stuff that might be impeding me while doing other things. Because the only way I am discarding... I was going to say, the only way I'm discarding cards without Norman in play is if I'm using looting effects to try and find the cards I need in order to win. So, and I won't be able to cast anything from the graveyard, so I could still run like Archfiend of Ifnir's removal, because I might still be drawing and discarding a bunch on setup turns to kill everything, but I don't think I can actually count these as removal, because I'm not just going to discard my whole hand to kill a bunch of things, unless I absolutely have to, and then it's probably not going to work out well for me anyway. So I did grab Cyclonic Rift. Vandal Blast is also removal, and I should have grabbed them together. Oh, that'll make me feel better. Lands. Like, Nahiri's Wrath I can cast as a removal spell, just discarding like one or two big things to kill some stuff. Or little things that will kill the things that are problematic. Yeah, with Firestorm, I need to discard 2 cards to deal 2 damage to 2 targets. So, but with Nahiri's Wrath, I might be able to just discard 1 card to kill, like, one really problematic thing. And it won't matter that, you know, I didn't discard 5 cards to kill your 5 toughness creature. I discard 1 thing that costs 5 mana, so we're good. Not that I have a ton of expensive cards in my deck, but yeah, Nahiri's Wrath, at least I can use it to kill something on the turn I'm not going off. I feel like I can. Maybe I can't. Like, maybe it's not actually good enough at that. Archfiend. Yeah, maybe some of my removal just isn't as good as I thought it was, because it felt like it was on topic, and it's like, oh, cool, I'm gonna be doing this stuff anyway, so I might as well take removal that lets me do that, and then it's like, yeah, no, this isn't actually good. Hermit, Ominous Roost, Christian Geist, Change of Fortune, Patient, Offer You Can't Refuse as interaction. Score, Bitter Reunion, Energy Refractor. This file, Bitter Triumph. Hang on. My brain wandered off for a second. So, some of the Bitter Triumph is interaction, and that's what snapped me back to it. Did I miss any? No? Okay. These are interaction. Withering Torment is 1 damage to each OP, so no. Previous to each opponent. Opponent. Each opponent. Each opponent. Psychic Frog, no. Kitten, no. Toxic Deluge, yes. Yeah, Impending Flux is more of a win con than an actual way to interact with opponent stuff. It will kill all the opponent's stuff, but it will also probably just kill the opponents. Like, it's very difficult for me to cast a whole lot of spells from my graveyard if they don't have Mayhem, and if they have Mayhem, then I'm trying to combo off here. So, very similar to the Firestorm above, just not happening. Alright, I think with this sublist, every single card on the main list is now down here somewhere in one or more of these things. Alright. Honestly, I can probably lose Kill, Maim, Burn at this point. It's just a bit too expensive, even if I can discard it. If I can discard it and cast it, then I didn't want to cast this specifically, so I think we get rid of that one. I think I'm going to get rid of O-Stone and let Cyclonic Rift be my primary board flipping card. Even though it's, like, it's still going to be too much mana to O-Stone and then recast Norman, so even if it's 7 mana to Cyclonic Rift, it being, like 5 mana to blow up the world, 3 mana to cast it, but we get a 2 mana discount, so it's only 6 mana to blow up the world, and then 6 mana to recast my commander after that. So yeah, not feeling that one. I'm wondering if I should get rid of Firestorm. Like, Nahiri's Vengeance, the turn that I'm going on. The problem is that Firestorm is 1 red and lets me discard my whole hand to kill a bunch of stuff, including killing players. Like, if I discard 5 cards from my hand and I have 3 opponents, each one of those opponents is taking 5 damage, and anything that's hindering me from winning the game this turn is taking 5 damage out of, like, creatures and planeswalkers and whatnot. Take that, Narset, trying to stop me from drawing extra cards. And my deck kind of requires that as its main thing. But, and it's always a red mana, so I don't have to have a discard outlet going. It is the discard outlet for 1 mana. But Vengeance is also always a red mana and can still kill creatures and planeswalkers. It just can't dome opponents is the problem. But it can dome the creatures and planeswalkers for a lot more damage. So if there's something large stopping me from winning that isn't indestructible or hexproof, I can still get rid of it with Wrath. And Wrath, it should be a red mana also. Like, that's just how my deck works. If I'm casting these things on the turn that I have Green Goblin in play, they should be 2 mana less. If they're not 2 mana less, I don't know why I cast Green Goblin, because I didn't have enough discard outlets going on in order to risk running him out. Unless I cast him and they killed my discard outlet in response to try and stop me. Have a bunch of counter spells to keep everything else at bay. Alright, let's get rid of these two. So, O-Stone. Yeah, you know the deck is weird when I'm cutting O-Stone from it. Alright, get rid of those two. Clear that off. We're getting close to time, and feel like I'm slowing down. Not that I was going too fast to begin with, but almost literally half the cards need to come off this list, and that's kind of brutal right now. I am wondering if I cut Liar, since a lot of my ways to protect my combos involve counter spells, but then I have a handful of cards that just won't let opponents cast spells on my turn. So that boosts Liar right back into contention again. So Vidalcan Archmage is worse Joyra, because she triggers off everything he triggers off of. They're both 4 mana. He's a 3/3, he's an 0/2. Both cast triggers. And I can see the Archmage being the weakest of the, when I do the thing, draw an additional cards. Yeah, the Uthros spacecraft is also just better of a Dalkin Archmage, so. Alright, let's cut him off the list then. I'm going to have to lose half the cards anyway. It's like, what is the worst one of each of these cards? I do think Cellar Spawn is the worst of the win cons still on the list, because it's only one opponent. It is lose life rather than damage, so it gets around certain things. Like if somebody had cast the One Ring, it would get around that. but so does Tendrils of Agony. So, although I can't target them with Tendrils of Agony, so back to back to not being able to kill them through a one ring cast. Although this targets the opponent, right? An opponent. So yeah, the Ancient Stellar Spawn isn't doing that anyway. Okay, never mind. Off it goes. Off the list it goes. Alright, let's get rid of those two, and then we're at the 50-minute mark, so we'll call it there. I spell Vidalkin differently in his creature type? Yeah, I did. I'm like, why? He's literally a Vidalkin. There can't be only one Vidalkin on the list. The Stellar Spawn. Hooray! I think we cut 9 cards today. Which 10 is good for when the thing starts getting really grindy and every card wants to stay on the list, so it's not the worst to only cut 9, but still feels a little bad. Alright, I'll be back on playing Magic in a little while. I'm gonna go figure out lunch first, and we'll see. I think there's an Arena Direct this week that is for Modern Horizons 3 for, for like Japanese boxes of it, no less, which is something I would absolutely love to win. I have been slowing down so much in picking up like the fancy versions of things because Magic is just so expensive, and I have like all of the older Eldrazi in foreign language foils, either Japanese, Chinese, or Korean. So I did want to get the old frame newest ones, and they were so expensive when they first came out, and I just never got around to picking them up, so I would love to get a box of that and hit one of them. Plus, there's a ton of other things in the set that would be worth having. If I could get, like, a good foil of it, Ocelot Pride. Like, I'm pretty sure the fetches are in the main set, or at least on the bonus sheet that you can open in the pack, so those would not be terrible. Like old frame fetchlands. So, yeah, there are a few things I could potentially open from the box. Plus, it's just an expensive box anyway, so it'd be cool to win it. So, might try for that. But yeah, it's going to do it for me for right now, so thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Have a good rest of your day.